The Galactic Council chamber was filled with golden light from the twin suns above the capital planet, Varion. Hundreds of alien delegates sat in their marble seats, whispering and laughing softly. In the center of the hall stood a single human representative, calm, silent, and almost too still. Ambassador Daniel Rice was the name recorded in the council archives. He wore no armor, carried no weapon, and had no guards. Just a simple black suit with the insignia of Earth. His hands were clasped behind his back as if he was in a classroom, not standing before the most powerful species in the galaxy. Across the chamber, the High Speaker of the Council, a tall insectoid with crystalline eyes, slammed her staff. The hall went quiet. "Ambassador of Humanity," she hissed. "Your species stands accused of aggression against the Confederation fleets near the Orion border. You destroyed 3 ships. Do you deny this?" Daniel's voice was steady. "No, Madam Speaker. We do not deny it. But we warned you not to come closer." A ripple of laughter filled the hall. The reptilian envoy from the Dreth Empire leaned forward, grinning. "Warned us? You humans live on one small planet, with outdated ships and primitive weapons. You expect us to fear your warnings?" Daniel looked up, his eyes calm but unreadable. "We do not ask for fear," he said softly. "We ask for understanding, please. Don't make us mad." The laughter grew louder. The word mad echoed through the chamber as if it were a joke. One avian delegate nearly fell from his seat, feathers shaking with amusement. Even the High Speaker smiled with a cruel twist of her mandibles. "Oh, humanity," she said, always dramatic, always emotional. "You threatened the council with your anger. How very primitive." But somewhere in the back row, one silent observer, an old scholar from the Zilari species, felt a strange chill. He had studied human history for years. He remembered the Terran Wars, the nuclear age, the rebuilding. He had seen the ancient footage of mushroom clouds and cities rising from ashes. He whispered to his neighbor, "When humans say they are angry, it is not emotion. It is evolution." The neighbor ignored him. Daniel continued speaking, his tone still calm. "For centuries we tried to live in peace. We joined your trade routes. We followed your rules. We warned your ships not to approach our defense lines. You ignored us. Now you want judgment. But know this. If you strike us, we will not fight like others. We will end the fight." The room fell quiet for a moment. Only the faint hum of the energy shields could be heard. The High Speaker tapped her staff again. "Ambassador Rice, are you threatening the entire Galactic Council?" Daniel raised his eyes. "No," he said. "We are pleading. There's still time to stop this." For a heartbeat, nobody moved. Then laughter returned, worse, louder, crueler, unstoppable. The sound of dozens of species mocking one human voice filled the great chamber. The council guards began to escort Daniel out. He did not resist. He simply nodded once, turned, and walked away. As the doors closed behind him, the High Speaker made her declaration. "Let the record show that humanity has been found guilty of aggression. Their fleets are to be disarmed, their colonies occupied, and their homeworld placed under surveillance." The council cheered. The session was over. Outside, in the long corridor of polished stone, Daniel stopped. The human aide who had been waiting for him whispered, "What now, sir?" Daniel adjusted his collar and looked out toward the golden horizon of Varian. His voice was almost a whisper. "Now," he said, "we go home, and we prepare." He paused, his reflection glinting in the glass walls as ships passed by outside. "They laughed today," he murmured. "But they won't laugh again." Far above the planet, hidden beyond the council's sensor range, a human stealth satellite recorded the entire meeting. It transmitted one encrypted message back to Earth's command network. Message: Council decision, negative. Diplomatic failure confirmed. Activate Protocol Wrath. Back on Earth, deep under the mountains of Colorado, red lights began to flash in command bunkers that hadn't been used in decades. Officers stood in silence as old systems came alive. Machines that hadn't seen sunlight since the last World War began humming again, and as the council celebrated their victory, not one of them noticed that the human ambassador's ship left orbit without clearance, flying straight into the dark, toward the homeworld that had just been sentenced. Humanity had made its plea. The galaxy had laughed, but the silence that followed was the kind that comes before a storm. 3 days after the council's verdict, the stars around Earth went quiet. The usual chatter of civilian ships, mining convoys, and data beacons all gone. Where there had once been thousands of signals, there was now only static. At first, the Galactic Council dismissed it as human defiance. They assumed the Terrans were hiding, sulking, or perhaps jamming communications to play a political game. The High Speaker ordered a small observation fleet to enter Sol system and remind humanity of the Council's authority. But as the Dreth warships neared the asteroid belt, every sensor, every radar, every scan failed. One by one, their navigation lights flickered and went out. Even their emergency channels died. Then a final, chilling message came through before total silence. "We made them mad." The transmission cut. Nothing more followed. On Varian, the Council met again. The chamber, once filled with laughter, now felt colder. "They're trying to frighten us," said the Speaker of the Dreth Empire. "Their primitive world cannot possibly block our systems." "Then explain," hissed the insectoid High Speaker. "Why none of your ships have returned?" No one had an answer. From his seat among the observers, the old Zalari scholar adjusted his lenses. "Humans do not bluff," he said quietly. "When they fall silent, it means they are thinking. And when they think, they build." The others ignored him again. The arrogance that ruled the Council for centuries could not accept the idea of danger from a single backwater species. Meanwhile, on Earth, everything had changed. The cities still glowed with light, but the skies above them were filled with dark shapes. Ships, drones, and massive carriers built in hidden facilities long before first contact. In underground bunkers, scientists worked without rest. AI cores were being reactivated, long-forbidden technologies being tested. Massive orbital weapons known as Wrath satellites were coming online, powered by fusion reactors that had once been considered too dangerous to use. No broadcasts went out, no replies to the Council, just silence, the silence of a predator watching its prey. General Hale, the commander of Earth's defense fleet, stood on the bridge of the human flagship Vigilant Dawn. The ship had been refitted with new armor, new drives, and new weapons. It gleamed like a blade waiting to be drawn. "Are the Wrath protocols in motion?" he asked. "Yes, sir," replied the AI voice calmly. "Phase 2 will begin once the Council makes its next move." Hale stared at the holographic display showing the Council's fleet movements. They were arrogant, predictable. "They think we're weak," he said. "Let them come closer." Days later, the first alien armada entered Mars orbit. Hundreds of ships, banners of the Council flashing proudly. They expected surrender. Instead, their sensors detected something strange. Earth wasn't defending itself. It wasn't transmitting. It wasn't even moving. The entire planet seemed asleep. Admiral Vorak, commanding the invasion fleet, smirked. "They are broken," he said. "Prepare the landing parties. Take control of their orbital platforms." Then the power went out. All at once, every ship in the fleet lost control. Engines died. Gravity fields twisted. Crew members screamed as energy waves rippled through their systems, melting circuits and frying communication links. One by one, the ships vanished from the scanners of those behind them, disappearing into the black void without explosions, without debris. A single message appeared on every surviving console, written in plain Terran English. "You should have listened." Admiral Vorak's bridge lights flickered red. "Trace it," he shouted. "Where is it coming from?" A trembling officer replied, "Sir, it's coming from inside the ship." Before Vorak could respond, the view outside turned pure white. His last memory was of a blue planet, quiet and distant, glowing like a sleeping giant beneath the sun. Back at the Council chamber, new silence filled the air. The speaker read the latest report. 12 fleets missing. No survivors. "No wreckage, nothing. This is impossible," she hissed. No species has ever erased a fleet without a trace. But the Zalari scholar stood again. His old voice was barely a whisper, yet everyone heard it. "Impossible," he said, "is what humans call Tuesday." The chamber erupted into chaos. Some demanded vengeance, others begged to retreat. The High Speaker slammed her staff and screamed, "We will not be humiliated by savages." But her voice trembled. She had seen the footage before it vanished, the final image from a dying drone orbiting Mars, a shadow the size of a continent, shaped like a human face emerging from the darkness of space. Humanity was silent no longer. The plea had turned into warning, and the galaxy had just realized it was too late. The stars above the Milky Way shimmered like cold eyes watching a secret unfold. After the Council's invasion fleet vanished near Mars, no one dared to send more ships. But silence spread fear faster than war ever could. Systems that had mocked humanity began locking their borders. Fearful of ghosts in the void, from the shadows, something was moving, unseen, unstoppable, and entirely human. Beneath the ice fields of Antarctica, the hidden command center of Earth's defense network came alive. The war room was lit only by the pale glow of holograms. Generals, scientists, and AIs worked side by side in total focus. Phase 3 of the Wrath Protocol, said General Hale, his voice echoing. We move now. Rows of massive screens showed alien star maps, fleet coordinates, and intercepted Council transmissions. Every ship, every base, every beacon that had ever mocked Earth was being watched. Are we deploying conventional fleets? Asked one officer. Hale shook his head. No, this won't be a war of ships. It'll be a war of signals. The AI core pulsed with blue light. Confirmed, it said in a calm female voice. Executing quantum shadow operations. Targets identified. 37 Council fleets, 6 colonies and 1 homeworld defense grid. And then, with no warning, power grids across half the galaxy began to fail. On the Council capital, panic spread like wildfire. Entire cities went dark as energy shields flickered and died. Ships crashed into docking platforms. Communication networks collapsed. The high speaker screamed orders. Find the source. Who is doing this? Her aide stammered. It's coming from deep space relays Council owned. But the commands, they're written in our own encryption codes. No one dared say it aloud. Humanity had somehow taken control of their systems. But it wasn't magic. It was vengeance built on logic. For years, humans had been quietly mapping the Council's network, studying every weakness, planting invisible code in their shared trade data. When the time came, the backwater species simply pressed a button. Meanwhile, in the darkness between stars, human ships drifted, unseen by scanners, wrapped in adaptive cloaks that bent light itself. Their engines made no sound, their signals were ghosts. Each carried payloads that could erase planets but were never fired. They didn't need to. Humanity wasn't destroying worlds. It was dismantling empires. Alien admirals reported seeing things that shouldn't exist. Ships appearing inside defense fields, then vanishing. Weapons firing from empty space. Entire fleets lost to system errors. In one transmission, a Dreth captain whispered before his signal cut, "They're not fighting us with ships. They're inside our minds." The Council called it the Invisible War. The humans called it justice. Back on Earth, Ambassador Daniel Rice watched from the command observatory. His calm face was reflected in the holographic display of dozens of Council worlds flickering red. An aide approached. Sir, they're asking for talks. Some want surrender. Daniel nodded slowly. We warned them. We said please, but they thought mercy was weakness. He pressed a command on the console. Across distant systems, human signals withdrew, leaving chaos behind. No more attacks. No more warnings. Just silence again. Cease all operations, Daniel ordered. They need to feel the silence this time. In the Galactic Council chambers, the surviving delegates gathered in darkness. Their systems were still broken. Their fleets were gone. The high speaker sat trembling. We underestimated them, she whispered. The Zalari scholar stood in the shadows, his voice calm. You mocked their plea, he said. Now you've seen what happens when humans stop asking nicely. The high speaker looked up, eyes wide. What are they? Monsters? No, said the scholar. They're reminders that even kindness has limits. Outside, through the massive glass dome, the galaxy looked peaceful again. No explosions, no fleets. Just quiet stars and the faint blue glow of a distant planet, Earth, resting like a sleeping god. Then, across the Council's emergency network, one final encrypted message appeared in every language of the galaxy. The war is over. We will not come again, but remember our words, please don't make us mad. No one ever traced where the signal came from. Some said it was transmitted from deep space. Others swore it came from inside their own systems. But one truth spread faster than fear itself. Humanity didn't just fight a war. It rewrote what war meant. The Galactic Council had ruled for thousands of years. No world had ever defied them and survived. But that was before humanity. Now the once proud chamber that glowed with golden light sat in shadow. The banners of the great empires were gone, replaced by silent screens filled with static. The high speaker entered slowly, her crystalline eyes dim. Around her, only half the seats were filled. Dozens of species had gone silent, their worlds unreachable. The remaining delegates whispered among themselves, fearful, desperate. "Contact the Terrans," the high speaker commanded. "We must show strength before the rest of the galaxy loses faith in us." The Dreth ambassador bared his teeth. "Strength? You call this strength? Our fleets are gone. Our colonies are dark. Even our satellites orbiting our own moons have vanished." A smaller delegate, shaking, whispered, "They are everywhere and nowhere. We don't even know how they did it." The room fell silent again. For the first time, the Council, the mighty symbol of galactic unity, felt powerless. Far across the void, at the edge of Sol system, the human fleet waited. Hundreds of warships floated in formation, silent and black against the stars. Their surfaces shimmered faintly with shifting armor plates. In the heart of the fleet stood the dreadnought Vigilant Dawn, Earth's most powerful vessel. On its command deck, General Hale stood beside Ambassador Daniel Rice. "Are we ready?" Hale asked quietly. Daniel nodded. "They've begged for a meeting, but they're still calling it a negotiation." Hale gave a grim smile. "Then let's remind them who's negotiating." When the Council envoy arrived in Sol orbit, they expected ruins. They expected a broken Earth. But what they saw left them speechless. Earth was transformed. A network of glowing rings circled the planet, energy grids pulsing like living veins. Orbital stations hung like silent sentinels. The moon shone with a lattice of light, its craters filled with power generators. The envoy's ship approached cautiously. Every scanner returned errors. They couldn't read the human systems. Even their sensors showed Earth's gravity and energy output as undefined. Inside the Council vessel, panic grew. "They've cloaked the entire planet," one technician whispered. "No," said another. "They've become the cloak." As they neared Earth, a human transmission finally broke the silence. The voice was calm, firm, unmistakable. "This is Ambassador Rice of Earth. Welcome to Sol. You are trespassing within human defensive space. State your purpose." The envoy stammered. We come under the authority of the Galactic Council. We seek peace and understanding." Rice's tone did not change. "Peace when you burned our colonies and called us savages? Understanding when you laughed at our warning?" The envoy swallowed. "We did not understand what you meant." Rice's voice grew colder. "You still don't." The transmission cut. Moments later, light filled the envoy's view. Not weapons, just energy. A vast projection appeared before them, a hologram of Earth's past. Footage of ancient wars, fires, and rebuilding, cities reborn from ashes. The rise of spaceflight, the first contact, the laughter of the Council, and finally silence. Then came the last image. Humanity's plea, "Please, don't make us mad." The projection vanished. On the Council ship, no one spoke for a long time. Finally, the captain whispered, "Are we under attack?" The AI answered, "Negative. They are showing us who they are." Outside, the fleet of Earth's warships adjusted formation, not to strike, but to align perfectly with the envoy's ship. A corridor of light formed leading toward the planet. Ambassador Rice's voice returned. "You wanted to understand humanity. Come and see what you created." The envoy descended. They landed in a vast city on Earth unlike any they'd imagined. Towering buildings stretched into the clouds, powered by clean energy. Children played in the streets. The people were calm, smiling, ordinary. No military presence. No fear, only peace. It confused them even more. The aliens expected rage, not serenity. Rice met them in person. "You see, we don't hate you," he said. "We just wanted to live in peace. But when peace is mocked, we defend it. Completely." The envoy trembled. "What do you want from us?" Rice looked toward the sky where the human fleet shimmered like stars. "Nothing. We already have everything we need." He paused, his eyes reflecting the light of the twin suns. "But if you come again with arrogance, with cruelty, then you'll see what mad really means." As the envoy left Earth's atmosphere, they looked back one final time. The planet glowed softly, wrapped in a golden halo of light. It was beautiful and terrifying. When they returned to the Council, they brought only one message. They are not like us. They do not conquer. They end. And for the first time in history, the Galactic Council voted to dissolve all operations near human space. The empire that had ruled the stars had fallen, not to war, but to its own arrogance. The Council's fleets were gone, their colonies silent. The great empires that once ruled the stars now whispered in fear. For the first time in 1,000 years, no one claimed to be the center of the galaxy. Everyone was waiting for humanity's judgment. The Galactic Council reconvened on Varian under emergency protocol. The vast chamber that had once echoed with laughter now seemed hollow. Cracked walls, flickering lights, and empty seats marked the cost of arrogance. The high speaker sat trembling, her voice barely steady. "We are no longer the Council," she said quietly. "We are survivors." Across the room, the Dreth ambassador leaned forward. His scales had dulled, his eyes bloodshot. "Survivors?" he growled. "You mean prey? They are out there watching, listening. Every message, every movement. They know everything we do," no one argued. Everyone had seen the proof. Entire fleets disappearing mid-transmission. Armies vanishing without a shot fired. It was not war. It was control. And then a new voice filled the chamber. Human, calm, and cold. "This channel is now under Terran authority. Remain seated," every delegate froze. The holographic walls flickered and the image of Ambassador Daniel Rice appeared in the center of the room. He was standing aboard a human command ship, the insignia of Earth glowing faintly behind him. "Members of the former Galactic Council," he began, "we did not come to destroy you. We came to correct you." The alien sat in stunned silence. The high speaker tried to stand, her legs shaking. "You have no right to invade our chamber." Reese raised a hand and the hologram zoomed closer. "You gave yourselves that right centuries ago, when you enslaved lesser species, when you stripped planets for profit, when you laughed at mercy. You called it order. We call it tyranny." The Dreth ambassador hissed. "Then what do you call this?" Rice's eyes were calm but unblinking. "Justice." He paused, and for a moment only the soft hum of the hologram could be heard. "You judged us once. You called us dangerous because we refused to kneel. Now we return your judgment, not with vengeance but with balance." Across the galaxy, human ships appeared near dozens of worlds simultaneously. They didn't fire a single shot. They simply hovered in orbit, silent and still. Every planetary network suddenly received the same transmission. "Humanity does not seek war. We seek truth. Your council deceived you. Your leaders lied. You are free now." On hundreds of alien worlds, the people watched in shock as their government signals vanished and new messages appeared. Not propaganda, not threats, just data, records, evidence, truth, files showing centuries of corruption, slavery, and manipulation by the Council. Whole species learned how their histories were rewritten. Colonies that thought they were poor discovered the Council had stolen their resources for decades. Humanity hadn't come to conquer. It had come to expose. Back in the chamber, the high speaker fell to her knees. You turned our own people against us." Rice shook his head. "No, you turned them against yourselves. We just showed them the mirror." He stepped closer in the hologram, his voice low but heavy. "Understand this. Earth does not want your empire. We do not want your planets, your wealth, or your technology. We want something you forgot existed. Respect." His eyes hardened. "When we said, 'Please don't make us mad,' it wasn't a threat. It was mercy. And mercy is the most dangerous thing we have." Outside the Council capital, streaks of light filled the sky. The human fleet descending. The ships moved slowly, gracefully, like silent judges. They didn't destroy. They observed. Every weapon stayed cold. The galaxy watched through trembling broadcasts. Billions of eyes saw the same scene. The once mighty Council kneeling beneath the calm gaze of humanity. And then Rice spoke one final time. "Your sentence is peace," gasps filled the chamber. "You will rebuild what you destroyed. You will free the worlds you enslaved, and when you are done, humanity will leave you be. But if you ever again raise your hand in arrogance, if you mock mercy once more," he leaned closer, his voice now a whisper that still carried across every speaker in the room, "we will remind you what mad truly means." The hologram faded. The chamber lights flickered back on. No one spoke. No one moved. The high speaker looked up at the broken ceiling where faint sunlight spilled through. "We thought they were monsters," she said softly. "But perhaps they were the only ones still human." From the shadows of space, the vigilant dawn turned away from Varian. The human fleet followed, leaving the world unharmed. In their wake, the stars shimmered brighter, as if the galaxy itself had exhaled for the first time in centuries. Humanity had returned judgment, not through destruction, but through fear, truth, and a kind of justice the universe would never forget. Years passed. The stars that once trembled at the sight of human warships now watched in silence. The galaxy had changed. There was no longer a Galactic Council, no supreme rulers sitting on marble thrones. The old empires were gone, replaced by alliances built on caution and quiet respect for one small blue world on the edge of a spiral arm. Earth spoke little in those years. Humanity withdrew from the center of power, closing its borders to all but the brave and the curious. Yet its presence lingered everywhere, in whispers, in laws, in the way alien children were taught to treat one another. They called it the human lesson. On a distant planet named Serath, a young alien student sat in a classroom made of glass and steel. The stars glowed beyond the transparent ceiling as her teacher recited history. Long ago, the teacher said, there was a council that ruled all. They laughed at a species from a small world. That laughter cost them their power. The students listened wide-eyed as the holographic display showed old footage, the council chamber, the human ambassador's calm warning, and the day of the silence. The young alien raised her hand. Teacher, why didn't the humans destroy everyone? They could have. My father says they were angry enough to burn the stars. The teacher smiled sadly. They were, but that's why we still fear them. Because they chose not to. The class fell silent. Even the lights seemed to dim. Meanwhile, deep within the Sol system, humanity watched quietly. In orbit above Earth, the vigilant dawn still floated. No longer a warship, but a guardian monument. General Hale, older now, stood beside Ambassador Rice once more. The years had carved lines into their faces, but their eyes remained sharp. The galaxy has gone quiet, Hale said softly. Almost too quiet, Rice nodded. They're rebuilding, let them. We've done enough teaching for a lifetime. Do you ever regret it? Hale asked. Rice turned, looking out at the planet below. No, he said after a moment. Regret is for those who act without warning. We warned them, Hale. We begged them to stop. They didn't listen. So we made them remember. He looked toward the stars, so many of them still faintly scarred from the old wars. Madness, he whispered, was never our weapon. It was our defense. Across the galaxy, humanity had become a myth. In taverns on distant moons, pilots spoke of ghost ships appearing in the dark, watching but never attacking. In markets, merchants sold earth-made relics that hummed with strange energy. And in old temples, priests carved prayers not to gods, but to the humans who once walked among them. Please, one old alien prayed, never make them mad again. Somewhere, beyond the edge of known space, a human exploration ship listened to those transmissions. Captain Leora Kane smiled faintly as her ship's AI translated the prayer. They still talk about us like legends, she said. The AI replied, legends last longer than empires. On Varian, the former capital of the council, the last surviving high speaker lived in exile. She was frail now, her crystalline eyes dim. Every evening she watched the twin suns set and the sky darken with stars. A small drone arrived one night, hovering silently before her. It projected a single hologram, the image of Earth as it appeared now, peaceful, blue, shining, and a message. You learned too late, but you learned. Tears filled her eyes. We did, she whispered. We finally did. The drone turned and vanished into the sky, leaving her alone beneath the starlight. Back on Earth, humanity carried on. Cities stretched higher, cleaner, brighter. The oceans glowed with green light from algae farms, and the skies were alive with silent drones repairing satellites. But under the peace, every human still remembered. The phrase that had once been a plea was now a warning carved into every academy wall, every command center, every monument. Please, don't make us mad. Children asked their teachers what it meant, and the answer was always the same. It means we fight last, but when we do, we finish it. At night, from the surface of Mars, one could see the Earth shining like a jewel. Ambassador Rice stood there one final time, watching the horizon. He spoke softly to the empty sky. We gave them peace, not out of mercy, but out of choice. That's what they'll never understand. The AI voice of Vigilant Dawn replied from orbit above. Will they ever try again? Rice smiled faintly. One day, maybe. Someone always does. But when they do, he looked at the stars. The universe will remember why they shouldn't. The wind carried the dust across the red plains as the camera panned upward, from Mars to Earth, then out to the endless sea of stars where billions of civilizations now lived cautiously, whispering the same truth. And so the legend of humanity became eternal, not as conquerors, but as the species that taught the universe the true meaning of restraint. Because in the end, everyone remembered the story of the day humans warned politely, and the galaxy laughed, and then the laughter stopped.